Hello, everyone. My name is Trino, and welcome to We Love Pie's first recorded LEGO Robotics class. We Love Pie is a local First Tech Challenge team and a registered nonprofit organization. Today's lesson plan will consist of three main parts. The first part of today's lesson will be an interactive software lesson hosted by me, Trino. The second part of our lesson will be a software lecture by Sammy and Rohit, where they talk about how to code a LEGO robot in FLL. And finally, Shrey will talk about how to actually go about building an FLL LEGO robot with LEGO parts. Okay, so let's get started on that interactive LEGO robotics software lesson. So first, you should be on a page that looks a lot like this. It should look exactly like this, in fact. If you go to the link in the description of this video, the first link, you'll be taken to this page. It should look just like this with a student sign-in page. You want to click I understand and create an account. Now this page should load for you, and you'll be given a username and password just like this. So your username will be some numbers and your password will be a word. And you don't make one. Google will give it to you. And so when you get to this page, just check these two boxes and continue to sign in. And you'll be taken to a dashboard and you'll be logged into our LEGO Robotics class. So now what you want to do is you can see this blue dialog button, click that, and you'll be taken to the lesson. So very simple setup. If you continue, you can see the start button. That's what you want to do. If you want to read this overview or anything else, you can. But for now, just press start. And so once you reach this page, it'll be titled 1, Introduction to Dialogue. And you'll see a video here. It'll just introduce you to the concept of dialogue in English. And so you'll want to watch this video and make sure you understand it. We don't want this video to take too long though, so we won't be watching it on camera, but make sure you just watch this video. Then you click next once you finish the video. And again here, there will be another longer video. This one's even more important. It'll be talking about programming the dialogue. And so once you finish this video, you can click next, or no, you can click starter project right here, and that'll take you to the starter project. So make sure you watch the video in full. You can pause the video here and then start watching the video in Google CS first. Okay, so now that you've watched that video, you can go on and under links, you can click starter project. And so it might take a little bit to load for you, but it's going to be loading a program called Scratch. And in Scratch, it's just a really basic coding program. So you can learn how to code really simply. And so in this lesson, the goal is to be coding two different characters. You're going to be coding a human character and what looks to be a rabbit character. So you're going to code a quick dialogue between the two. But first, what the video said to first do was to take a look at the sprites. Sprites is just another word for the characters. And if you want to, you can change how the sprites look. So if I wanted to change the shirt of the sprite, I could click the shirt, and then I should be able to change the color. So I could change the color to green, and the shirt changes to green. And that's just one example of what you could do. And if you want to change anything else, any other colors, you can also do that. But we're going to continue on to the code. So yeah, so on the code, you can start by taking a, let's see, you can take a, when the green flag is clicked button, and you can drag that to the middle. So for all of these, you just want to drag the block into here. And so you'll want to start when the green flag is clicked. And so once you've clicked the when green flag is clicked button, you can just place that here. And so all this means is that when you click the start button, the code will start. So you definitely need this block. And also make sure when you're coding that the blocks that you code with, you have the right person talking. So in this case, we have sprite 1 talking because that one is blue. So when the human is talking, so when I click the green flag, you want to come here and you want to click the say block. So you want to click the top one. So say hello for 2 seconds. And so here I can now type into this first bubble what I want the human to say first. So let's say I want it to say, hello, Mr. Rabbit, for 2 seconds. Now if I click the green flag, the human says, hello, Mr. Rabbit, for 2 seconds. And so now I can continue making more code so they can talk more. So if I want the rabbit to say something, I should be able to do the same thing. So you want to go to the events area, click another one of these, and then make sure this is a really important part. Make sure after the human has talked for 2 seconds that you have the rabbit wait 2 seconds before talking, or else they'll talk at the same time. The video kind of went over this too. So there should be a wait block. If you go to control, the orange blocks, there's a wait block at the top. So I have the rabbit wait for 2 seconds while the human is talking over here, right? Because the human talks for 2 seconds. So I have to make sure the rabbit waits the same amount of time. And then I can go to the purple blocks and go to say. And now I can have the rabbit say what I want to say. And so let's see, what would I want to say? Hello, I need help with a math problem. And then I can have it talk for, if I want to talk a little bit longer, I can have it talk for 3 seconds instead of 2. And so now if I click flag, the human talks for 2 seconds, then the rabbit waits and asks its question, right? And then we can continue, we can do the same thing. So the rabbit talks for 3 seconds, so recognize this pattern. So however long the other person talks, you have to make the other person wait that amount of time. So for the hello, I need help with the math problem, the rabbit talks for 3 seconds. Now the human is going to wait for 3 seconds before it talks. So go to control again and press wait. And then you can have it wait for 3 seconds, which is the amount of time the rabbit took to talk. And then you can click the look block and say. And then now I can say what I want the human to say. So I can ask a question. So I'll ask, what is the problem, right? And so he says that for 3 seconds. And now it should work. So yep, this person says hello. And then the rabbit says, hello, I need help with the math problem. And the human waits and then says, what is the problem? And then now the logical thing would be for the rabbit to say what the problem is. So first I have to make sure the rabbit waits. How much time do we take for the human to talk? The human took 3 seconds. So now the rabbit waits 3 seconds. And then the rabbit can start talking. So it can be, say, the problem is, what is 5 plus 5? And it can say that for 3 seconds. And we always, after every line of code we write, we want to check that to make sure it works, or else we won't know what's broken. So make sure it works. Hello, Mr. Rabbit. Hello, I need help with the math problem. What is the problem? The problem is, what is 5 plus 5? And so the rabbit was talking for 3 seconds. So again, I need to go to control and make the human wait for 3 seconds while the rabbit is talking. And then I can go to looks. I can go to say. I can click the talking block. And then I can say, oh, that one is easy. The answer is 10. And so that one's a little bit longer. So let's make him talk for 4 seconds. And then we want to check our code by pressing the green flag. And so everything seems to be working. What is the problem? And the rabbit asks, or no, the rabbit says the problem is what is 5 plus 5? And the human answers the problem. And then finally, we can end the conversation or end the dialogue by simply adding one final wait block, right? The human talked for 4 seconds, so the rabbit has to wait before it speaks. And then we add our final say block, and the rabbit can say thank you for 1 second. We can test out our code, make sure it works. And so it looks like it's working pretty well. They're not talking at the same time, and they're having a logical flow of dialogue, right? So their dialogue, or dialogue can be used as like another word for a conversation in this case. Their dialogue went smoothly, and the rabbit got his question answered. And then, so yeah, that's how to code this. And finally, after you finished coding your dialogue, you can make any other adjustments you want. So you can add any sounds if you'd like to. You can further edit the costumes. You can edit how the rabbit looks, right? You can make the rabbit's face green if you want to, right? You can be a little bit silly. And then you can add a backdrop to make it look even better. So if we go here, we can add a backdrop. Let's see which one would make sense or which one looks nice. Let's say, I like the forest one. You see lots of rabbits in the forest. So this one makes the most sense. So now we can go to our final project. If we expand this and click the green flag, let's see if the code works. Hello, Mr. Rabbit. Hello, I need help with a math problem. What is the problem? The problem is, what is 5 plus 5? Oh, that one is easy. The answer is 10. Thank you. And so as we can see, the code worked flawlessly. Everyone talked at different times and the dialogue went smoothly. So that is how you're going to code today. That is how you're going to code your project. Now, don't just copy the project I made. Use the same principles and techniques that I used to code your own project. Thank you for watching. And after you code your own project, make sure to send it to wheelofpi at ftcwheelofpi@gmail.com. And now we'll move on to the lecture from software.
Hello, my name is Sammy.
And I'm Rohit.
And we'll be introducing you guys to Lego software, which is pretty much how you code the robot. Software is just the cool word for saying it. As an introduction to programming, in Lego Robotics, we use block programming. So in Trino's presentation, you kind of saw that in Scratch. It's called block programming because you drag the blocks around. And in Lego Robotics, they look like these. So they're rectangular shaped boxes. As you can see, there's a green one and there's an orange one. I'll be expanding on those later. And each of these blocks give a certain command to the robot. So for example, it could be moving around, waiting, like those, like Trino had one where it was talking, that could be a block as well. But for Lego Robotics, it's usually moving around. And the two main types of blocks are these movement blocks, which are green, and flow blocks, which are orange, which typically are waits, so the program waits, and loops, where the program keeps on repeating. And Rohit will expand on that later.
As you see, each block can be different, and each block has inputs. Like when you were coding in Scratch, you said your input was hello, and you were asking you were asking questions like, can you help me do a math problem? Like that, there are inputs in these blocks as well. As you see, there are numbers. You see 50, 51, and then a check mark. So the first number, basically, it tells you it's basically the power left and power right. This block is to move two motors. So the first number is for the left motor. It tells you how fast you want the left motor to run. And then the next one is the right motor. It tells you how fast the right one should run. And then rotations is the third one, how many times you want it to circle. And then the last one is if you want to brake. And then on the top right of the block, you see B plus C. Those are your different ports where your motors are connected.
And then Trey will show what the ports look like later. So here, as I said earlier, there are a lot of different types of blocks. This one Rohit just went over, where you can see it controls both the left and right motors. But there's other types of movements. So this is called a tank. So if it's called tank movement. So if you've seen like a tank before, it has only a left and right wheel or tread. It's called a tread. And this allows you to turn easily. So what you can do with this is you can control the power of each of the wheels. Steering, which is like in a car, when you're steering, you can turn, and you can use like it's called a sharpness. So how sharp you want to turn. And another one, just a regular large motor, which just moves one motor. So this one could be used for different attachments on the robot if you want the robot to do something else other than moving.
And now we come to the second type of blocks, loops. So loops are you use loops to do some if you want some action to be repeated. So you tell if you want a motor to move continuously, then you put that move block inside the loop, and so now it's moving in a loop. It keeps on moving. So yeah, that's what we use the loops for.
Yeah, and on the bottom, you can see how there's this loop block. It's this orange one that surrounds these two blocks right here.
Mhm.
The blue one, or the green one, sorry. The green one makes the robot move one rotation forward. And then the wait block says to wait 1 second. And on the right, we can see it has an infinity logo, which means that it'll just keep on going around and around until the robot runs out of battery. It'll stop, or someone stops the robot. And lastly, when you actually get to experience the robot, you'll be able to see the angles that the motors have, which is really cool because you can do a lot of cool stuff with these values. You can see this both on your computer, or you can see this on the EV3, as you can see on the left and right side of the screen. And now I'll hand it over to Shrey, who will show you more about the hardware side of Lego Robotics.
Hi, my name is Trey from We Love Pie, and today I will be teaching you about LEGO Robotics in the hardware section. So, what is LEGO Robotics? LEGO Robotics is the building and programming of a robot made with LEGO parts. So, how do we send messages to our robot? How do we make our robot do things? Well, there is a thing called a brick, and the brick is what's used to receive and send instructions to the motors and the sensors. It has 4 motor ports and 4 sensor ports. It can be thought of as the brain of the robot, if you think of a robot as like a human. So, if the brick is the brain, motors are like muscles. Muscles are used to make the body move, just like motors are used to make a robot move. So there's 2 types of motors: large motors, which are good for driving, and because they are powerful and fast. But medium motors are slightly weaker, but they're smaller, and they're good for attachments and other things of smaller sizes. Sensors. If the motors were your muscles and the brick was your brain, then sensors are like your eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. They're able to sense things by using their functions. The gyro sensor is able to detect the turns of the robot. Say you're sitting straight and you turn this way, it'll tell you how much you turned. Color sensor detects color. Touch sensors detect when the sensor gets pressed down. And the ultrasonic sensor is a special sensor which is able to detect distance, the distance from wherever it's facing to the closest wall near it. Beams. Now that we've talked about specific things on the robot, we're going to talk about structure. Beams are the basic building pieces for most Lego robots. They are measured in holes called M or L. So depending on the amount of holes that the beams have is the length of the beams. They can be thick beams or thin beams. These are all thin beams. Angle beams. This is what allows beams to be connected at angles. It's excellent for structural support because a triangle is the strongest shape in nature. And being able to create a triangle, you're able to have good structural support for your robot. Pegs. Now, pegs are what connects all of these together. You may have noticed that all of these have holes. And how are you going to connect them? Well, there's these things that fill the holes. And by doing that, they connect to each other. Now, there's different types of holes, as you can see in the pictures. There's the black ones. The black ones are the most commonly used ones. You put them on each of the holes and snap them together, and they stay sturdy. Now, there's the blue holes, the ones that connect the axles, and the one that's longer that can connect two beams and one beam on the side. Those are all friction pegs. Now we get into the gray and beige ones. Those things, they'll connect, but they can turn around, meaning that you can have things spin, but not powered by a motor. Connecting beams. Using pegs to connect beams. Basically, the rule of thumb is to have something structurally sound, you need it to be connected at 2 points. The farther apart the 2 points are, and the more diagonal they are, the more strong it'll be. You can't connect uh, beams with only one peg. You should connect them with two pegs, therefore they will stay strong. Axles. Axles are the way that power gets transmitted from the motor to whatever it's powering. These are also measured in M units. So they're about the same size of the channels. If you put them up against a channel, they should line up. The gray axles are odd numbers, the black axles are even numbers. You can hold them in place with washers, which we'll explain later. Wheels. Wheels are very self-explanatory. Everyone knows what a wheel is. There's rims and there's tires. So the cross section, the rim, is what attaches to the motor. The tire is just what helps the wheel have traction. You don't have to have a tire, but it's recommended. Bearings and washers. Washers and bearings are used to hold axles onto beams. As you can see, the yellow and the gray uh, bushings are used to keep axles in place. Otherwise, the axle is going to keep sliding, and we don't want that. Other elements such as bushings, gears can be used to transfer motion in different directions and make things more complex. Axle connectors. You can connect axles together too. You can make the axles go like this, and just either to make it longer or to make things more structurally sound. Frames and panels. Now these are the building blocks. These are the most structurally sound and best things you can use for building. They have a multitude of holes and they allow for great structural design.
Okay, students, thank you so much for watching Wheel of Life's first LEGO Robotics class. Shortly, we'll get back to you with another video. And if you have any other questions about today's video, you can email us at ftcwheelofpie@gmail.com and we'll get back to you with a response very soon. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you guys soon.